The person most likely to threaten your life in a collapse isn't some masked stranger roaming the highway. It's the guy next door who borrowed your lawnmower last summer. Right now, he knows exactly where you sleep, what time you leave for work, and whether or not you've got a gun. That's not paranoia. That's a fact. And by the end of this video, you'll never look at your neighborhood the same way again. We've all been conditioned to fear the unknown. The roaming gangs, the armed marauders, the faceless threat lurking somewhere out there. But history tells a completely different and much more uncomfortable story. When society breaks down, when the grocery stores go empty and the lights go out, the most dangerous person in your world is someone who already has your home address, has been inside your living room, and knows exactly what you've got stashed in your garage. That friendly wave across the driveway? In a collapse, it becomes a threat assessment. Today, we're breaking down exactly why your neighbors become your single biggest threat when the system fails, the psychological triggers that turn ordinary people into desperate predators, and how this has played out in real-world collapses that most Americans have already forgotten. Stick around, because what you learn in the next few minutes could literally be the difference between surviving and becoming a cautionary tale someone else tells. Let's start with a number that should make your blood run cold. According to the Adelphi University Center for Health Innovation, 48% of Americans don't have any kind of survival kit or emergency supplies. Not a flashlight with fresh batteries, not a jug of water, nothing. Over half don't even have 3 days' worth of food and water in their homes right now. And here's the part that should genuinely scare you. 55% believe that authorities, FEMA, the National Guard, somebody with a truck full of supplies, will come rescue them when disaster strikes. More than half the entire country is staking their survival on somebody else showing up with a plan to save them. Now let that simmer while I paint you a picture. A massive grid failure hits your region. No electricity, no running water, no cell service. Your entire modern American life. Everything you take for granted from the moment your alarm goes off. Gone in an instant. Here's what most people don't realize. Modern grocery systems carry only 3 to 5 days of inventory under normal shopping conditions. When panic buying hits, that window shrinks to mere hours. Within 18 hours, the first real violence erupts at gas stations. People throwing punches over the last 5 gallons of fuel. By hour 24, toilets don't flush. Every refrigerator is a ticking bacteria bomb, and 911 doesn't connect to anyone. Law enforcement? Most officers have gone home to protect their own families, or they're stretched so thin they can't respond to a single call. But here's where it gets psychologically terrifying. For the first day or two, your neighbor Dave is still smiling and waving from across the fence. Maybe he's grilling what's left in his freezer before it spoils. Kids riding bikes in the cul-de-sac. Everything feels strangely, almost eerily normal. Psychologists call this phenomenon normalcy bias, and research shows approximately 80% of people experience it during a disaster. It's a powerful cognitive trick your brain plays, convincing you that because something catastrophic has never happened to you personally, it simply won't happen now. It's the exact reason people refuse to evacuate before hurricanes, even as the sky turns black. And it's precisely why your neighbors won't prepare for anything until it's already far too late to matter. But here's what nobody talks about. Normalcy bias has an expiration date. And when it wears off, things get ugly faster than anyone imagines. By day 3, Dave isn't waving anymore. His kids are crying because they're hungry. His wife is scared and demanding he do something. And here's the critical moment. Dave remembers. He remembers seeing you haul cases of bottled water and canned goods into your garage 2 months ago. He remembers the steady hum of your generator during the last power outage when every other house went dark. He remembers you casually mentioning your deep freezer packed with 40 pounds of meat. Just like that, Dave isn't your friendly neighbor anymore. Dave is a desperate father doing cold, calculated survival math on who has exactly what his starving children need to survive another day. This is where Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs stops being a textbook diagram and becomes a terrifying survival reality. When a human being's most basic needs, Food, water, warmth, shelter are ripped away. Every layer of civilized behavior collapses with it. Morality, empathy, social contracts, community bonds, they all become luxuries that hungry, dehydrated, sleep-deprived people simply cannot afford. The rational brain shuts down, and the ancient primal brain seizes full control. Your neighbor doesn't see you as a friend anymore. He sees you as a resource standing between his family and one more day alive. This isn't speculation or Hollywood fiction. This has happened in the real world, over and over again. And every single time, the pattern is hauntingly identical. Hurricane Katrina, August 2005. 80% of New Orleans submerged underwater. The government response. A catastrophic failure that shocked the entire nation. Tens of thousands of residents stranded for days without food, water, or shelter. When the promised aid never materialized, stores were broken into. But it went far beyond survival necessities. In the Lake Vista neighborhood, residents posted desperate warnings about neighbors looting other neighbors' homes. People returned after the floodwaters receded to find bedrooms torn apart, family safes cracked open with hammers and screwdrivers, their children's belongings deliberately smashed on the floor. These weren't criminal gangs from another state. These were people from the same block, the same street, the same Sunday afternoon barbecues. Lieutenant General Russell Honoré, who commanded the military response, later told The Guardian that looting was massively overreported and people confused it with survival mode. He's right. But whether someone kicks your door in for canned food or a flat screen to barter, the end result for you is identical. Your security is shattered, and trust between neighbors evaporates like water on hot asphalt. And remember, Katrina was localized. Help eventually came. Now imagine a collapse that doesn't end. Venezuela's economic collapse, accelerating around 2014, turned one of the most oil-rich nations on Earth into a humanitarian catastrophe. 9 out of 10 households said they couldn't afford enough food. Catholic charity Caritas calculated a family needed 98 times the minimum wage just for basic groceries, 98 times your paycheck just to eat. People stood in lines overnight, every single night, for the chance to buy rationed flour and rice. In the first 4 months of 2016, 107 episodes of looting were officially recorded. Starving crowds attacked trucks carrying powdered milk on open highways. People beat each other unconscious over bags of flour in supermarket lines. One resident told reporters with exhausted bluntness, "People are assaulting you over a bag of flour, punching each other in the queues, wreaking havoc." Reports emerged of children trading sexual services for meals. Armed neighborhood gangs called colectivos controlled who ate and who starved, literally weaponizing food over entire city blocks. The attackers weren't foreign invaders. They were neighbors who'd lived side by side for years, turning on each other because the system holding everything together simply ceased to exist. But the most chilling example comes from Sarajevo, Bosnia. The siege lasted from 1992 to 1996, 1,425 days. The longest siege of a capital city in modern warfare. Before the war, Sarajevo was a multicultural jewel where mosques, synagogues, and churches stood within walking distance. Nobody believed their neighbors could become their enemies. Over 13,000 people died during the siege. 300 artillery strikes per day on average. Schools, hospitals, homes, nothing was spared. A survivor named Selko Begovic endured a year-long siege in a Bosnian city of 50 to 60,000 people. His first-hand account became legendary in survival communities worldwide. No electricity, no running water, no food distribution, no organized law of any kind. Every person with a gun fought for their own house, their own family. Most families had food for just a few days when it started. Within one single month, the entire social fabric was completely shredded. Selko's most disturbing insight was this: the greatest threats weren't outsiders or soldiers. They were the people who already knew you. Your daily schedule, the contents of your pantry, your physical weaknesses, whether you owned weapons. When collective desperation peaked, that intimate neighborhood knowledge became a precision targeting system aimed at anyone perceived to have more. So why are neighbors specifically more dangerous than strangers? One devastating word: information. A stranger doesn't know your daily routine, which window leads to your kitchen, or that you work night shifts and your wife is home alone at 7 a.m. Your neighbor knows all of it. He's been inside your home for dinner. He's seen the solar panels, the garden beds, the Amazon deliveries piling up on your porch. He's watched you filling 5-gallon water jugs at the hardware store. In prepping circles, this is called OPSEC, operational security. And most Americans are absolutely terrible at it. Every signal you unknowingly broadcast, your vegetable garden, rain barrels, a generator humming when every other house sits dark and silent, becomes a target in a crisis. When the power's been out for a week and your house is the only one on the block with warm light glowing through the curtains, you've painted a massive neon bullseye on your front door. Here's the timeline that survivors from every major collapse consistently describe. Neighbors are friends, sharing food, checking on each other. It genuinely feels like community at its finest. The mood shifts and darkens. People get quiet. They're watching who still looks well-fed, whose trash still has food packaging while everyone else's is empty. Mental inventories being carefully kept. Desperation overrides morality. The polite knock on your door becomes a forceful kick. Survival experts call it the 3-week rule. Most people maintain civilized behavior for roughly 2 to 3 weeks under extreme, sustained stress. After that threshold, the primal brain takes total control. Every person around you becomes either confirmed ally or potential target.